Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. The classic funk rock band War plays the Lake Arbor Jazz Festival in Mitchellville, Maryland tonight, followed by the Tally Ho Theater in Leesburg, Virginia on July 29th. I spoke to founder Lonnie Jordan when the band played the Birchmere in 2016, breaking down War's timeless hits like Spill the Wine, Lowrider, and Why Can't We Be Friends? Lonnie, thanks so much for joining us.
No problem.
Now tell us, you're calling us from the tour bus, right? You just got up from a nap.
Yep, and I'm going right back to nap after this. Yeah, we were playing in Asheville, North Carolina last night. Night before last. So we are moving on. We're on a month tour right now, back to back. So after the Birchmere, we will be heading up toward New York, and on and on and on for a whole tour.
Nice. Let's say our listeners hear this and they come out to the Birchmere. What can they expect to hear? Is it sort of, some of your greatest hits? Any new stuff you're working on?
No, just all hits, because I wouldn't want to go listen to any group that I like, and start playing stuff I'm not familiar with, and I'll get bored and I'll be mad. I came there in order to have a flashback.
Yeah, right. Give them what they paid for. It reminded me of I went and saw Bob Dylan at Wolf Trap, and it was almost it was hardly any of the hits. So I'm sure a lot of fans will appreciate you playing the hit.
Oh yeah, because that's what I would want, So I think like a fan.
Awesome. Well, we can go through some of the hits in a second, but first, take me back sort of to the, the early days, the formation of War. Because I know, didn't you guys, you used to have some of the bandmates, you guys were performing under the Creators and Night Shift. Take me sort of into those early days.
Well, the majority of the band, all of us, minus Lee Oskar, we were called the Creators. And then we became the... as the Creators, we were young. We were playing talent shows, and we had to have like a green paper in order to play in nightclubs. During the breaks, we couldn't be seen at the bar. We had to stay in the kitchen until it was time to go back on to perform. Wow. Yeah, and that was the Creator days, and we played a lot of parks, stuff like that. But other than that, we became the Night Shift, and that's when we teamed up with Deacon Jones, number 49 of the football team, the Rams. Deacon Jones, he was looking for a band to back him up at his nightclub that he had. And so we became his backup band. And, we did a lot of other stuff. It's just that I would have to write a book.
Maybe you will. Maybe you should someday.
I plan to. I've just given you a couple of things, from the different names as time, went through to now. Yeah, and but other than that, that's when Eric Burdon and Lee Oskar and a whole bunch of people came down to see us play, because Eric Burdon was looking for a band at the time, and saw us play. And Lee Oskar sat in with us, and Eric fell in love with the band, and it was love at first sight.
Now, everyone remembers Eric Burdon from, I think he used to perform for the Animals.
Yeah.
Before we get more into him, tell me just real quick before we move forward, what was it like performing with Deacon Jones? Everyone knows him, for ripping people's heads off on the field, but what was he like on stage?
Well, Deacon was the kind of person, he did more push-ups than anything. That was the base of his performance. And he did have two singles, and one of them was I Lovin' a Pro, and the other one was it's not whether you win or lose, it's how well you play the game. That's a long name, but it made it on the record, though. So
that's awesome. All right, well, now moving on to Eric Burdon. So everyone knew his voice from the Animals. What was it like being playing with him? Because I believe your first album was Eric Burdon Declares War. So you guys were sort of intertwined there in those early days.
Yeah, we actually did a lot of performance with Eric before we recorded anything, and it's just that then, again. In my book, if I ever write it, we will lead up to the fact of, how we came up with the song "Spill the Wine," which was our first single with Eric Burden, and at that time we were. After we did that, after we recorded it, we traveled to Europe and to England, which was not considered Europe. You could say you call it Great Britain, not Europe. So anyway, but we traveled over there, and then that's when uh, I started experiencing a lot of new worlds and the new everything. And I mean, I even had the great opportunity to meet Jimi Hendrix and and a whole bunch of other entertainers that were living over there. And as a matter of fact, Hendrix performed with us the night before he passed away. We were the
Really? Are
last
you
band.
serious?
Yeah,
Where was that?
it was we played Ronnie Scott's in England. He was living over there at the time, and then he was supporting Eric, because Eric had the new band, which was us, War. And keep in mind that Eric's earlier band, the Animals, the bass player Chas Chandler was the one who actually introduced Jimi Hendrix to the music industry. So that was the connection, and Hendrix always supported Eric, anything he did. So it's just that the fact that he liked us and said, "Wow, you got a great band, man." So he came Tuesday night without his guitar, and he promised that he would come the following night, Wednesday night, with his guitar, and we jammed for a whole hour without any gimmicks or big amplifiers, so we jammed on Mother Earth, Memphis Slim's Mother Earth, for a whole hour. Everyone took a solo, and it was great, man. And it's just that ironically, he went back to his flat and he passed away, that following morning, which was Thursday.
Is
So
it a little, eerie, haunting, but also, in a way, a privilege? You got to play, his last show. I mean, has that sort of stuck with you over the years?
well, it sticks with me because it was just like uh, it was like I don't know. It was pretty eerie. The fact that here we are playing Mother Earth, and then he went back to Mother Earth. You know what I'm saying? And it's just we were playing at Ronnie Scott for about maybe five. We did 5 nights. Let's see. I believe we might have started Sunday, played Monday, and he came down Tuesday without his guitar. Then Wednesday he brought his go down, and then it was close toward the end of our, show, and he that's when Thursday it happened, you know.
That's
So
crazy. Yeah, man, you seriously could write a book with all this. This is already you have some great stories with Deacon Jones and
yeah,
Eric Burden and
yeah,
Jimi Hendrix his
anyway.
last show. Man, you guys
and
have been, and these are just the early days. Let's move on
and Jim
sort of
Morrison.
into when war really blew up and and all of us around the world got to know you. Take me into let's go through a couple of your songs. Take me into Spill the Wine and how that one was created.
Well, to make a long story short, and you'll have to read the book, but to make a long story short, I accidentally spilled wine in the in a recording board while the track was done, and I came in order to help out Eric and Jerry Goldstein, our producer then and now, to see if we can improvise and create some lyrics on the track. And so they're having a hard time, and I won't get into details, but Eric was in the vocal booth, and it was pretty dark in there, and the track was playing, and it's just that I couldn't see that clear through all these windows, and it was dark on the other side, but then all of a sudden I noticed there was someone else in there with him, and I said, okay. And come to find out that it was a young lady in there. She was the one that was singing the Spanish part of Spill the Wine. But Eric still had not come up with any lyrics. But while I was watching, what was going on in there in that little small isolated booth, I had this big bottle of Gallo red wine and styrofoam cups, and I sat the styrofoam foam cup on top of the board, and, I'm not watching what I was doing, but I poured the wine into this cup, and it tilted over and went right into the board and fried the board out and started smoking. And Eric saw me do that, and I said, "Whoa, whoa!" And then you could see smoke coming up, and next thing I know, Eric started yelling out, spill the wine and spill the wine. And then my producer, the brain started working and the ideas popped up and light bulb went on and spill the wine. That should be the name of this song. So after that, we ended up going around the corner to another studio. And of course, I had to pay for it, but I only paid for it after the song was a hit.
You should have told the rest of the guys that, you did it on purpose. It was your way to show them the song title.
Well, it was too late because they saw what I was doing because I was watching what Eric was doing in there. And I said, because Eric never failed to amaze me back then. He was wild. And I said, now what is he doing? And that's what caused me to spill it.
That's so cool. All right, moving on. Lowrider. How did that come about? Is it as juicy a story as Spill the Wine?
No. This actually we went out. Actually, when we recorded Lowrider, it was pretty much for the Lowriders in East LA. And what we did was we recorded the song and then we went out to East LA and with some cameras and a Niagara sound system in order to film some of the cars, because no one in the world has ever seen Lowriders before. So what we did was we brought two rival car clubs together. One was the Imperial and the other was called the Dukes. And so we had cassettes, not manufactured cassettes yet, but it was just demo cassettes. And we gave everybody a cassette to put in their car, and they were all playing their cassettes in their cars, loud, and they were digging it. And they were the first to get a demo tape of Lowrider. And we filmed them, and then we took the film on the road with us to places beyond the West Coast where people had never seen Lowriders before. We even took it to Germany, Japan, and people were amazed and shocked to see these cars bouncing up and down. So that's basically where it where it came from. It came from the East LA Lowrider. We were inspired by them, and no one had ever written a song about Lowriders. Only one song came close to that, and that was "In Crowd" by Dobie Gray. But that was about cars, but it wasn't about Lowriders. No, so
sometimes the best ideas are right under your nose, and you guys are it's who's gonna be smart enough to look down and be like, oh, there's a song.
Yep. Well, that's how we wrote all our songs, from experience and from the streets. Yeah.
The other really big one everyone loves is "Why Can't We Be Friends?" A message that is even more timely today. But take me into sort of how that came about and why sort of, it's still so timeless. I mean, God, what, like 40 years later?
Yeah, well, basically because of what's happened today from the time we wrote it and what's been happening in between, nothing's changed. But basically we were on tour all the time, the forever. And it's just this one incident where, that we had to be held up for about 45 minutes before we got out to play, because there was always incidents going on before we went out to play. So we were in a holding position until they cleared up the problem outside, because back then all of our shows were mixed. We always had a mixed audience. And unfortunately, some of the people pretty much wanted to rule the territory of us, saying, well, War is our favorite group. We're the ones that, they're our group. No, they're our group. And then there were fights, So finally, we just had enough, and we always had our instruments backstage, so we just started playing reggae grooves backstage, and finally we came up with this idea: why can't everybody just be friends? And we just start singing this melody over and over. Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Finally, when we went home, we remembered it, went into the studio, and we started writing the lyrics to it.
Sort of relate that theme to sort of the band name in general, because everyone hears War, but I believe I remember that original album was like, "We declare war on your right for us to love one another," or something like that. So tell me sort of about how sort of the band name sort of ties into that.
Well, yeah, we named ourselves. Well, at first, we thought it was too radical, but then we realized that well, we can use the name against wars against wars, because there was the Vietnam War was going on. There was the Watts riot. Pretty much everything that's going on today. So we call ourselves War to Rage War Against Wars, and it was just too many soldiers coming home from the war and end up finding themselves fighting another war at home in their own backyards. So then our music, of course, pretty much followed the message of our name. That the world is a ghetto, and of course, why can't we be friends? And just songs like that had to do with the message of, yeah, we're raging wars, you know, and letting you know what's going on in the world. For those that don't know, I guess in a way, if had we known what Google was back then, we would have said the world is a ghetto is our Google song. Just letting you know what's going on.
I just love that you guys sort of have mixed, over the years, the socially conscious stuff like that, but also, just fun, something like Lowriders is as fun as you can get of a song. But combine that with sort of the historical moments like Hendrix that you're talking about. I mean, it's a nice little body of work that stacks up pretty favorably in rock history. I'm pretty sure, didn't you guys, were you just nominated for the Rock Hall a couple years ago recently? Do you think, what are you guys' chances of getting in here soon, you think?
Well, recently, yeah, we were nominated twice, but we keep losing to the metal bands. So,
yeah.
Yeah, but we always came close. But but winning something like that doesn't really bother me as much, because I always look at my fans. They are my Rock and Roll Hall of Fans, and one of the reasons I think that we've never won any awards is because no one ever knew how to categorize us, because our music has always been versatile. I always called ourselves universal street music. That's how I pretty much tell people, that's how our music, that's where it comes from, the streets, universal. So no one ever knew how to categorize us because of the genres of styles that we play. Whether it's reggae, but well, actually before then it was calypso. you know, but Latin, funk, jazz, classical. I mean, name it. We gospel, country and western. We did it all.
Well, that's just a credit to you guys that you can span all of that. So maybe people struggle to categorize you, but to me, that's a positive. That means you guys got range.
Well, just working.
Thanks so much for your time. I don't want to keep you too long, but just, in closing, why our listeners to hear this, why should they come out to the Birchmere? You got 2 shows. You're going to put on great shows. Why should they come out?
Well, they should come out because our stage will be smoking and we will send them home smiling.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.